A new geological study has revealed something surprising. The massive 6-ton altar stone at the center of Stonehenge didn't come from southwest Wales as long believed. Evidence now points to northeastern Scotland as its true origin. But that discovery may not be the most shocking development surrounding Stonehenge. Recently, a powerful artificial intelligence system was used to analyze the monument in a way never attempted before, and the results left researchers stunned. Scientists gathered everything ever recorded about Stonehenge: laser scans, excavation reports, acoustic tests, astronomical alignments, decades of research containing thousands of data points. All of it was fed into an AI model and allowed to process the information freely. Within weeks, the system finished its analysis. When the results appeared on the screen, acoustic engineer Trevor Cox from the University of Salford reportedly stared at the output in silence. His colleague, researcher Rupert Till, read the conclusion twice before quietly asking whether the AI had malfunctioned. It hadn't. The system had arrived at a conclusion nobody expected, one that completely changes how Stonehenge might be classified. Not a temple, not a calendar, something far stranger. And what the structure may have been designed to do to the people standing inside it is something even researchers weren't prepared for. Here's something most people don't realize. Stonehenge didn't always look the way it does today. The monument went through several construction phases over roughly 1,500 years. It began around 3000 BC as a simple, circular ditch surrounded by wooden posts. Over centuries, the site was repeatedly dismantled, redesigned, and rebuilt. Stones were moved, replaced, and rearranged as new features were added. Some researchers once suggested the stone arrangement represented a type of ancient calendar. The number of stones roughly aligns with a 30-day lunar cycle, and certain placements could correspond to 3 10-day segments. But the AI wasn't interested in calendar patterns. Instead, it examined something no one had seriously considered before. After processing the archaeological records, geological surveys, magnetic readings, and structural reconstructions, the system detected a very unusual pattern. The stones weren't selected simply for appearance. They weren't chosen for religious symbolism. Each stone had specific physical properties: acoustic properties, magnetic characteristics, resonant frequencies. When the AI simulated how these features interact inside the circle, the pattern became clear. The precision was too exact to be random. Stonehenge wasn't just assembled piece by piece. It appears to have been engineered to influence the human experience inside the structure. And modern science has begun to confirm that possibility. In 2020, Trevor Cox and his team at the University of Salford conducted one of the most detailed acoustic experiments ever performed on Stonehenge. They created a perfectly scaled model of the monument using 3D printed stones at a 1:2 ratio. The replica was assembled exactly according to the original layout and placed inside a specialized acoustic chamber. Then they ran hundreds of sound experiments: voices, musical instruments, frequency sweeps across the full audible range. What they discovered was remarkable. Inside the circle, voices sounded stronger, deeper, and more powerful than they would in open space. Sound waves didn't scatter and fade like they normally would outdoors. Instead, they stayed concentrated. When drums were played, vibrations wrapped around the listeners from every direction, creating what Cox described as an immersive wall of sound. But the most surprising discovery came next. Despite being surrounded by massive stone walls, there were virtually no echoes. None. the stones interacted with sound waves in a way that disrupted sharp reflections from the outer ring. The result was an acoustic environment where sound remained full and immersive, without the typical echo effect. And eliminating echoes like that doesn't happen by accident. It requires intentional design. Someone understood exactly how to shape sound inside that circle. And that still wasn't the most unusual part. Rupert Till, a musicologist and acoustic researcher from the University of Huddersfield, expanded the research by studying the famous Welsh bluestones used at the site. His team discovered that when certain stones are struck, they produce clear metallic tones, almost like ringing bells. Interestingly, the quarry where many of these stones originated has a Welsh name that roughly translates to ringing stones. That means the Neolithic builders didn't just pick rocks randomly. They deliberately transported these particular stones from a location about 150 miles away because of the sounds they produced. Not the stones nearby, not rocks from a closer quarry. They chose the ones that rang. Not stones from nearby hills, not rocks found a few miles away. The builders dragged them 150 miles across harsh terrain, simply because those particular stones produced the right sound. Then Rupert Till uncovered something even stranger, something he reportedly hesitated to publish at first. The way the stones are arranged creates low-frequency vibrations, deep sound waves that sit below the range of human hearing. Scientists call this infrasound. You don't hear infrasound with your ears. You feel it. It moves through your chest, your stomach, even your bones. And this is where the story takes a darker turn. Infrasound doesn't only trigger physical sensations, it can also affect emotions, sometimes dramatically. Laboratory studies have shown that when people are exposed to certain infrasonic frequencies, they report chills running down their spine, sudden anxiety, a crushing heaviness in the chest, and an eerie feeling that someone or something is watching them. Some subjects claim they see flickers of movement at the edge of their vision. Others experience a powerful instinct to escape, a deep animal fear with no obvious cause. In controlled experiments, calm and rational volunteers have become visibly uneasy within minutes, all because of vibrations they couldn't consciously hear. And there's another effect researchers have observed. Infrasound can make people more emotionally vulnerable and more open to suggestion. Your logical thinking remains intact, but your body reacts as if something powerful and unseen is nearby. In that state, authority figures can have an enormous influence over what you believe. When Trevor Cox explained these implications to reporters, his tone reportedly changed. It was the kind of quiet realization that happens when scientists discover something they weren't expecting to uncover. Because if the research is correct, the acoustic behavior of Stonehenge wasn't an accident. It wasn't simply the result of stacking stones in a circle. It may have been the entire purpose of the structure. After processing the archaeological, acoustic, and geological data together, the AI reached a conclusion that unsettled the research team. Stonehenge might not have been built primarily for worship. Instead, it may have been designed to produce a specific psychological experience for anyone who stepped inside. And the acoustics were only the beginning. Now imagine experiencing this place 5,000 years ago. You've traveled for days, maybe even weeks, to reach a site everyone talks about in whispers. Stories about it have been passed down through generations. The place where the gods speak, the place where the earth itself hums with power. You arrive tired, hungry, and already overwhelmed. Ahead of you, enormous stones rise against the sky. Massive structures arranged in patterns you don't fully understand, but somehow feel important. As the sun sets, red light washes across the horizon. You step inside the circle. Then something strange begins. A deep vibration pulses through your chest. You can't hear it, but you feel it pressing against your ribs. The air seems heavier somehow. When the priests speak, their voices don't simply travel through the air. They seem to surround you. The sound feels like it's coming from everywhere at once. From the stones, from the ground beneath your feet, even from inside your own head. Your heartbeat quickens, your skin tingles. A wave of nausea rises and fades, leaving behind something worse. A crushing sense of vulnerability. Every instinct tells you that you're standing in the presence of something far beyond human power, something divine, something capable of destroying you effortlessly. Then the priests announce the will of the gods. Offer your grain, give your labor, dedicate your children to service, and you believe them, not simply because of tradition or faith, but because every sensation in your body confirms that something supernatural is happening. The fear doesn't feel imagined, it feels physical, and you would do almost anything to make that terrifying presence stop. But here's the unsettling part. You weren't imagining the sensations. The structure itself may have been producing them. The people who designed Stonehenge may not have been primitive builders stacking decorative stones. They may have understood sound, vibration, and human psychology at a level we're only beginning to rediscover. They knew that when a person feels fear deep in their bones, they become far more willing to accept explanations involving gods, spirits, or punishment. And they constructed a monument capable of creating that emotional state whenever they needed it. Not just once, not only during special ceremonies, whenever obedience was required, whenever belief needed reinforcement, they had a mechanism capable of producing it. So if Stonehenge was actually a precision instrument, a structure designed to influence human emotion, a kind of psychological tool disguised as sacred architecture, then another question emerges. Where did all the pieces come from? Because the builders didn't rely on local materials. They traveled extraordinary distances to obtain very specific stones from very specific locations. When researchers used AI to trace the origin of each component, they discovered something puzzling. The smaller blue stones weigh between 2 and 5 tons. The massive sarsen stones can reach 25 tons. For generations, scholars debated how those stones arrived at the site. Did glaciers move them naturally across the landscape? Or did ancient builders somehow transport them themselves? And if they did, how did people living 5,000 years ago manage a journey that still seems almost impossible today? For decades, researchers debated a simple question. Were the stones of Stonehenge moved there by natural forces like glaciers or by human effort alone? The new AI analysis settled that argument quickly. After reviewing thousands of geological reports, transportation models, and environmental datasets, the system traced the exact origins of each stone used in the monument. The smaller blue stones came from the Preseli Hills in Wales, about 150 miles away. The massive sarsen stones originated in the Marlborough Downs, roughly 25 miles to the north. Those sources were already known. But the AI discovered something human researchers had completely overlooked. One of the most important stones in the entire monument, the altar stone, positioned near the center of the structure, didn't match any quarry in Wales at all. Its chemical composition was unlike any other material used at Stonehenge. When the AI compared the stone's mineral fingerprint with sandstone formations across Britain, it found exactly one match: the Orcadian Basin in northeastern Scotland, nearly 600 miles away. In late 2024, a research team led by geologist Anthony Clark at Curtin University confirmed the discovery using high-precision mass spectrometry. By studying microscopic mineral grains trapped within fragments of the altar stone, they found a geological signature that was impossible to mistake. Some grains dated back 1 to 2 billion years, others around 450 million years old. That exact combination exists in only one place on Earth: the ancient sandstone deposits of Orkney in Scotland. The match was undeniable. Dr. Robert Ixer of University College London, one of the leading geological experts on Stonehenge, reportedly paused for several moments after seeing the results. Moving a 6-ton stone across the entire length of Britain using Neolithic technology, he said, would have been almost unimaginable. Then geologist Professor Chris Kirkland explained what may have actually happened. The builders likely used coastal sea routes, transporting the stones along hundreds of miles of shoreline. That would mean Neolithic crews navigated the open ocean in boats made from timber frames and animal hides, carrying multi-ton cargo through rough Atlantic waters. They would have had to launch these stones from rocky shores, time their departures with narrow tidal windows, and maneuver around dangerous headlands where powerful currents could smash a vessel against cliffs. One mistake, and the entire crew, along with the stone, would vanish beneath the waves. And yet, according to the evidence, they managed to do this again and again over generations. When a journalist asked Kirkland how certain he was about the theory, he answered simply, "Very." The geological evidence leaves little room for alternative explanations, which means the people behind Stonehenge weren't scattered tribes stumbling through early history. They were part of a coordinated society with trade routes or control networks stretching across the British Isles. The bluestones from Wales were chosen for their ringing acoustic qualities. The sarsen stones were selected for strength and durability, and the Scottish sandstone was brought from hundreds of miles away for reasons researchers still don't fully understand. Every material appears to have been selected with extreme precision, every stone serving a specific role within a larger system. But the AI uncovered something even more unsettling when it examined the astronomical alignments of the monument. Most people know Stonehenge is connected to the solstices. During the summer solstice, the sun rises directly behind the heel stone. In winter, the setting sun aligns with the massive trilithon stones. Thousands of people gather every year to witness those events. For a long time, scholars believed those alignments were the monument's main purpose, but the AI revealed something else hidden within the layout. When researchers compared the exact positions of the stones with reconstructed star maps from 5,000 years ago, the system identified another alignment, far subtler than the solar ones. It had gone unnoticed because no one was looking for it. Dr. Giulio Magli, an archaeoastronomer from the Polytechnic University of Milan who has spent decades studying ancient sky alignments around the world, reviewed the AI's calculations step by step. When he finished, he reportedly sat quietly for nearly a full minute. Then he confirmed the finding. The geometry of Stonehenge points toward a completely empty region of the night sky. No stars occupy that area. No planets cross through it. No constellation forms there. Every other alignment at the monument corresponds to a real celestial event: the solstices, the moon's extreme positions, seasonal cycles. But this particular alignment targets nothing at all, just darkness. Archaeologist Professor Amanda Chadbourne, who has worked extensively with English heritage on Stonehenge research, noted that the intentional precision of the monument's alignments has always been one of its most remarkable features. But the idea that one of those alignments is aimed at empty space raises questions that current archaeological theories struggle to explain. What made Magley especially uneasy was the AI's probability calculation. The alignment was almost certainly deliberate, not approximate, not accidental, precise, which raises a strange possibility. The builders may have aimed Stonehenge at something that wasn't there yet, something expected to appear in that part of the sky in the future. If that's true, it leads to a much deeper mystery. If a civilization had the knowledge to design a monument like this, the astronomical understanding to align it with a future event, and the authority to maintain construction across centuries, who exactly were they? Because the answer challenges everything we thought we understood about Neolithic Britain. For years, historians have described Stonehenge as the result of cooperation between neighboring tribes, communities working together to build a shared sacred space. But the AI analysis suggests a very different picture. A structure requiring this level of engineering precision, manpower, and long-term planning likely couldn't have been created by loosely organized tribes acting voluntarily. The mathematics don't support it. Projects of this scale require centralized authority, leaders capable of mobilizing thousands of workers and maintaining control over multiple generations. Someone had to understand astronomy, geology, acoustics, and human behavior well enough to oversee the entire design. The stones transported from Wales, Marlborough, and Scotland may not have been friendly exchanges between allied groups. They could have been tribute demanded from subordinate regions, resources collected under pressure, or under fear. The AI estimates that thousands of laborers were involved over many decades, people born into the project, people who spent their entire lives quarrying, transporting, and shaping stones for a purpose they may never have fully understood. That isn't simple cooperation. That's organized power. And here's the most unsettling detail of all. Archaeologists have found almost no evidence of large-scale warfare from that era. No massive battlefields, no fortified cities, no piles of weapons. Yet somehow, across centuries, an enormous workforce remained perfectly coordinated, working in silence. That kind of control doesn't require armies. It requires something far more powerful: belief. Imagine a structure capable of creating fear and awe so intense that people believe they are standing in the presence of the divine. A place where rulers don't need to threaten violence because the environment itself convinces people that the gods are speaking through them. All the elites had to do was bring people inside the circle. Let the stones do their work. Then speak as the voice of the gods. In that moment, resistance would be almost impossible. And here's the unsettling thought. The system that created those experiences might still be functioning today. In 2024, researchers witnessed something they had been waiting nearly 2 decades to see: a major lunar standstill. This rare astronomical event happens about every 18.6 years, when the moon reaches its most extreme positions along the horizon. For many of the scientists studying Stonehenge, the previous occurrence happened before they had even begun their careers. To observe it, English Heritage assembled a research team at Stonehenge. Archaeologists and archaeoastronomers placed instruments between the ancient stones as evening settled over Salisbury Plain. The air was cold, the grass damp with night moisture. Slowly, the moon moved toward its maximum northern point, the furthest it would reach for another 18 years. Standing inside the circle was Professor Clive Ruggles from the University of Leicester, one of the world's leading experts in ancient astronomy. For years he had theorized about what this moment might reveal. Now he was watching it happen, and the stones responded, not symbolically, Not approximately, exactly. Moonlight passed through the openings in the monument precisely as the builders had designed thousands of years ago. Shadows fell where they should. Light entered where it was expected. The geometry of the monument activated almost like a mechanism, like a key turning inside a lock that had been untouched for nearly 2 decades. 5,000 years of rain, wind, frost, and human interference. And the structure still performed with astonishing precision. Later, Ruggles described the experience as one of the most remarkable moments of his career. Standing inside a structure built 5 millennia ago and watching it operate exactly as intended left him struggling to find the right words. Because the realization was impossible to ignore. The system still works. After 50 centuries, it continues to track celestial cycles. It still measures, still aligns, still counts. Towards something the original builders clearly believed was important enough to mark for generations. Which means Stonehenge isn't simply a relic of the past. It's more like an instrument, one that remains active. Its acoustics influence human perception. Its stones were gathered from across an entire island for their unique properties. Its geometry aligns with astronomical events with a precision that rivals modern observatories. And one of those alignments points toward a region of sky where nothing exists, just darkness. If Stonehenge truly functions as some kind of cosmic marker, tracking cycles and alignments we're only beginning to understand, then a larger question becomes unavoidable. What event was so important that ancient people devoted centuries of effort to building a machine to record it? What moment justified transporting massive stones across hundreds of miles, engineering acoustic effects, and maintaining the project across multiple generations? And what happens if that empty region of sky is not meant to stay empty forever? So here's the question I want you to think about. And I'd love to see your ideas in the comments. What do you believe Stonehenge is really counting down to? A rare astronomical alignment? A cosmic event we haven't discovered yet? Or something entirely different? Drop your theory below. I read every single one. Because 5,000 years ago, a civilization far more sophisticated than we once believed assembled a machine made from stone, sound, and the movement of the heavens. They aimed it at a patch of empty sky. And then they waited, and the machine is still running. If this changed the way you see Stonehenge, hit the like button so more people can discover this. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because we're diving into ancient sites across the world. And what we're uncovering is raising questions that could reshape how we understand human history. This is only the beginning.